Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this in the world. I hope you guys are doing okay. So I came across a thread by an individual called Boa or Kung Lao's Hat on Twitter, which went over the biggest controversies in the NRS era of Mortal Kombat, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to review them, decide on whether they're valid, and check to see if he missed any along the way. So from MK9 to MK1, we are going to review the biggest controversies from the NRS era, starting with the design and physics of female characters in Mortal Kombat 9. Now this first point is one that has been heavily debated online. Does MK need the sex appeal? Is it a part of the identity of MK? Is this a staple of the series? And the answer is actually somewhere in the middle. There was another tweet that went viral that said, "The fact that Mortal Kombat girls used to look like this is still insane to me." And somebody retweeted it saying, "It is very weird that the series of games very literally built on cleavage and gore decided one day actually that is too much skin to show there. That's not appropriate anymore. Now back to this animation where somebody's spleen is ripped out and shoved into their mouth," which sparked a big debate regarding where sex appeal sits in the series. Personally, there's two roads to go down here. The original trilogy of Mortal Kombat games, as far as I can remember and I can see, did not have a huge amount of sex appeal in them. If we look back at the original Mortal Kombat roster, it featured one female character who was basically just in 80s aerobics gear, and the rest were all dudes. Sonya wasn't particularly sexy in this game. There was nothing provocative about what she was wearing, nor was it racy or anything close to what we see from later games. If we look at MK2's roster, we now have Kitana and Mileena on the roster, both fully clothed. You can count Jade as well, but she's also a palette swap, so nothing sexy going on there. She's dressed exactly like Mileena and Kitana. We get to MK Trilogy and things have started to change a little bit, not too much. I wouldn't say that these are sexualized costumes, but there's definitely some more skin on show for the female ninjas, and obviously Shiva is bursting out of her Borat style getup, but I'm sure nobody's getting happy over that one. Well, actually this is the internet, so I'll take that one back. I'd say more or less though, the original MK trilogy was not heavy on sex appeal. MK4 is really where I'd say the costumes take a turn and the female characters' costumes look a lot more revealing. Granted, there's only two female characters that are playable, but you get to see some of the ladies in the cutscenes. MK4 is like the weird bastard child of the MK franchise. The old school heads always reference 1 to 3 with trilogy, the 3D era guys always speak of Deadly Alliance, Deception and Armageddon obviously, and the NRS era guys obviously refer to 9, 10, 11 and 1. That being said, 4 is where you start to see the sexy women, so for all of the old school heads, they're probably not going to really care about sex appeal because it was never really a prevalent part of the series for them. The 3D era guys are really the ones that make the argument that MK and sex are synonymous, and they wouldn't be wrong. Try to remember, these are two different eras, different player bases. A lot of the guys that played the original Mortal Kombat games did not transfer over to the 3D ones because they said it resembled Tekken a little bit too much, and the people that were playing the 3D ones never really went back to play the old school ones. Now of course there's going to be some people that did that, but you get my point. The player bases were very separate. The NRS era people likely sit in a similar camp to the original fans because sex appeal is once again just not a big deal in the series. If you were asking me personally, I always thought the outrageous costumes for the women was always a part of the series because I came from the 3D era. That being said, Mortal Kombat 9 carried over the sexy aesthetic of the 3D era, which seemed to split the community down the middle, and so yes, this would be one of MK's biggest controversies. If you were asking me personally, I think the 3D era's aesthetics and general design are the best in the series, so I'd like to see them make a return. That being said, again, this is definitely a controversial subject within the MK community. The Sindel massacre of Mortal Kombat 9.
Come forward if you dare! I will finish what the Lin Kuei could not!
Let's do this. Attack!
This is definitely a controversial scene, and quite honestly one of the most ridiculous in the series. NRS have been praised a lot for their cinematic story modes, great voice acting, great motion capture, very stellar graphics, but one thing they've never done well is power scaling. I mean, this is a series where gods and mortals actually fight each other. I'll never get over Kitana kicking Shao Kahn's ass in Mortal Kombat 11. In no universe should Kitana be able to defeat Shao Kahn in a fight, given his feats, and yet somehow she literally slapped the shit out of him. Power scaling and consistency in MK's story only goes as far as who you're playing with next. If you're on Jade's chapter, Jade's gonna win whoever she comes up against. If you're on Nightwolf's chapter, the same thing is gonna happen, and so on and so forth. It makes no sense and it always takes me out of the moment. Watching Noob Saibot get jobbed out constantly is annoying, and so it's no surprise that people were left scratching their heads as Sindel absolutely obliterated Nightwolf, Johnny Cage, Cabal, Striker, Cyber Sub-Zero, Jax, Smoke, Sonya, Jade, and Kitana. Look at how many characters I just named there. That's like half the damn roster. I don't care if she got some sort of power up. Look at that lineup. That shit made no sense whatsoever. She cooked every single one of them and they didn't even scratch her. Absolutely one of the most absurd things I've seen in Mortal Kombat, and to this day remains the biggest jump in power that I have ever seen in fiction, and I am a Dragon Ball fan. The amount of canon deaths in Mortal Kombat 9. Well, given what we've just spoken about, yes, this would be a controversial one. Now, in a game that is as hyper-violent as Mortal Kombat, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a few characters dying, but the sheer amount of characters that got leveled in this game was just over the top. Even considering that Mortal Kombat 9 spans several Mortal Kombat stories, it's still ridiculous. Yes, this is a controversial one and a very poor one at that. Variation mechanic in Mortal Kombat 10. This was a controversial one, but it's one that I think actually worked. Variations in Mortal Kombat 10 were really well done, and it was a new concept, so of course something as new as that and as revolutionary is gonna be controversial. They weren't all balanced and some shined brighter than others, but there was a variety and it really let the characters' personalities shine through. I'll always give NRS praise for the way they designed Scorpion's variations. For example, you can switch between ninjutsu, inferno and hellfire, all parts of his fighting style. Not all controversies are bad, and this is one that I can see paid off very well. The problem would come later down the line when they basically watered down this system for Mortal Kombat 11. I can't remember anyone that was happy with how the variations were implemented in MK11, and it ultimately led to their demise. I wouldn't actually be against them coming back because you had something similar in the 3D games as well. The 3D games had fighting styles within the fight, and so you had a much more expansive roster, and I would be in favor of seeing that. But there is a way to do variations to make everyone happy. It is just going to be a little bit more work. Devora kills off favorite characters in MKX and MK11. Yeah, not only was this a controversial decision, but it was a fucking stupid one as well. I don't mind Devora, but killing Melina was insanity to me. Melina is an iconic character, and having a brand new one just destroy her in the fashion that she did not sit well with me, and I'm pretty sure it did not sit well with the Melina fans. They decided to go one step further in MK11 and kill off their poster child Hanzo Hasashi, aka Scorpion. Not an Elseworld Scorpion, but the very Scorpion we have grown up with that went through a huge redemption arc and became a respectable member of Earthrealm's defenses, killed by Devora. Someone at NRS was smoking something extremely powerful. Starting to notice a little bit of a pattern here, but we'll get there in a little moment. Regardless, killing Scorpion after everything he went through by way of a brand new character that didn't have the clout or the reach that Scorpion did was insane to me. The leader of the Shirai Ryu defeated by a bug girl. The man who defeated Bihan and countless other warriors dead just like that, but it's okay because we have another Scorpion to replace him. More MCU multiverse schlop. Absolutely shambolic. The combat kids. I don't even need to say much here. Boring, overstayed their welcome in the story, lame, not exciting. I don't know if this is controversial, it just sucked. The only one that gets a slight pass is Takeda, but the rest of them are the biggest war criminals I've ever seen, with the biggest criminal being Cassie Cage. Which ties into the next point, defeating Shinnok. A fallen elder god losing to Cassie Cage. Who the hell wrote this shit? Oh, she's from a type of people that are Kryptonians basically, or some lame shit like that. Yeah, I know they explained it, and the explanation absolutely sucked. Just because you give something a reason doesn't make the reason good, and certainly doesn't make it possible, and this is an example of that. As lame can get. I remember sitting there and watching it and thinking, who greenlit this? My guy Shinnok going down like that. The Sindel massacre, Devora killing off Scorpion, and now Cassie Cage beating a fallen elder god. Someone really likes the ladies over there at the NRS offices. Special forces focus in MKX and MK11 stories. Yep, another one that I'd say is a controversial choice given the tone of MK historically. It got very annoying. Not helped at all by constantly having to listen to Ronda Rousey in Mortal Kombat 11. Another case of letting a story span far too long. They were annoying, they seemed overpowered, and they really overwhelmed the stories. I wasn't a fan. Really glad that at least MK1 got away from that rubbish. There was at least a few times where they all should have been killed. That Noob Saibot job out really sucks. Noob Saibot deserves better. Losing to Jax and Jackie should never have been on the cards. Tanya's skin color and ethnicity in Mortal Kombat 10 story mode. I don't know if this was a controversial one. Maybe I'm forgetting something, maybe I don't remember, or maybe it's overshadowed by the MK1 controversy with Tanya, because I don't remember much discourse about this, but I could be wrong. I can remember a lot of people talking about Tanya's current design. Now whether that's warranted or not is completely completely up for debate. Personally, I like the MK4 design and MKX designs of Tanya myself, but I don't think the MKX one was particularly controversial, at least not to me. Maybe I missed something there. Increased number of characters with guns in Mortal Kombat 11. Not sure if this one was controversial or if it was just downright annoying. I think this was made much worse because of the presence of the Special Forces characters. I don't think Aaron Black was a controversial character for anyone, and a cowboy in a fighting game is always going to be welcome. Evil Sindel retcon in Mortal Kombat 11. Yes, controversial and mind-boggling. Why they decided to go down this road will never ever make sense to me. They literally decided to throw out an entire character arc and lore for shock factor? I'm not even entirely sure here. Sindel was a loving mother who basically couldn't catch a break. Husband murdered, taken captive, her child was raised by her husband's killer, and then she was awarded a mutant stepdaughter so she could effectively have to sleep with one eye open. Resurrected and used as a pawn. Why NRS decided to do this is baffling to me. Thankfully, Mortal Kombat 1's version of Sindel returned to her roots, so hopefully we'll see how she can develop organically throughout the new timeline story. Oh wait a second, she's dead. Never mind. Is there a game that you've ever wanted to purchase that you haven't gotten around to playing?
Yeah, let me type it in.
Oh.
I'm just playing. I did actually really want to play this.
Cult of the
Lamb?
Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah, I really want to play this.
Now, if you go to Instant Gaming, you'll get 54% off on Cult of the Lamb. Is this the one you're talking about?
Yes, but there's also the packs.
So you can get it for £1.94 here. What is this? Is this the Xbox version?
Who the fuck would play it on Xbox?
So this is the PC version, right? So if you come to Instant Gaming and you use my affiliate link, Shambolic Hollow, you can get Cult of the Lamb. Yes, that's the... You can get Cult of the Lamb for £9 1p. And then, what is this? This is a chicken and chips.
Oh my god. Yeah, like 20 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's a bit more. You can get Cult of the Lamb for cheaper than chicken and chips now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is pretty good.
Thank
If you
you.
use my affiliate code, you have some sense, and use my affiliate code. You want your limbs to remain in place. Use my affiliate code.
I'll be using that today.
Lack of combos and gameplay in MK11. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people thought MK11 was too slow and grounded, and I'd say it's probably a controversial gameplay design. I'd say it was pretty controversial coming off the back of MK9 and MKX, which were completely insane games, to then go to this tame and timid nature of Mortal Kombat 11. I can see why the sudden change in pace would be seen as controversial. That being said, MK11 is the best-selling Mortal Kombat game ever, so it may have been controversial, but it definitely worked. Mileena not being on the base roster of MK11. Yep, controversial and annoying. It's a practice we see happening more and more with fighting games, keeping iconic characters off a roster to later sell them because they know people will want to use their mains. That being said, the rumor going around is Ed Boon and company did not want to bring Mileena back because Devora killed her in MKX, but boy oh boy did the Mileena stands come out in full force. That could probably be its own controversy with the way they rush down Twitter every day, but it seems like NRS listened because Mileena returned to MK11 and people went absolutely crazy for her. The power of persistence is right there in 4K. That being said, I wouldn't go about it the way the Mileena stands did. That shit was pretty crazy. Cetrion's design doesn't fit the Mortal Kombat universe. I don't know about this one. Was it a controversy? I don't think so. Maybe people raised their eyebrows initially when they saw her, but she doesn't look too out of place to me, and she was a higher form of godhood, so I don't know about this one. I don't think I'd call it controversial. Revenant looks to become base skins for some characters in MK11. This wasn't controversial because they were following the story, but it was super lame. Everyone grayed out as their base version. Yeah, I wasn't into this. The story got weird and did too much. Controversial? Probably not. Rubbish? Definitely. Ronda Rousey's voice acting in Mortal Kombat 11. Yes. Just yes. We don't need to go into this one. Just never do that again. Dimitri Vegas voice acting in Mortal Kombat 11. Yes again. And even harder yes. Please don't ever do that again. Please also add Megan Fox to this. All of the celebrity mainline tie-ins have sucked so far. Please stop. Just have them voice their own characters if they are a guest, like Homelander or the Terminator. Shit's annoying as hell and ruins the characters' reputations. Sonya and Nitara will never recover from this. MK11 Aftermath plot. Yeah, this was alright to begin with, but the ending was definitely controversial and MK1 made it even worse. Two timelines, both being correct, both colliding. Yeah, controversial and a cop-out in my book. Please stop this MCU rubbish. It's tired and overdone. Cyrax and Sector not being playable in MK11. I don't know how controversial this one was, but it was definitely a downer, especially because they looked so badass in the story mode and the modded versions of them actually seemed really cool. cool. It was a weird decision to keep them off the roster, they're iconic characters. It's even more painful that we now know that we won't be seeing them again for many years to come, since they've decided to give us whatever garbage this is. Ermac is given a new design only to die in the crypt in Mortal Kombat 11. I didn't even know about this one, to be honest with you guys. Why would they even think to do something like that? Ermac is an iconic character. Why would you even want to job out one of your guys like that? Super weird decision as far as I'm concerned. It feels like someone at NRS has a hate boner for the classic characters. It's even lamer because MK11's Ermac design is actually pretty cool. A very bizarre decision there from NRS. I do wonder what the meeting room looked like when they were deciding that one. Cameo mechanic in MK1. Yeah, this might be the most controversial mechanic in the history of MK, hell, in the history of fighting games, and that's saying something considering how much people hated breakaways in Mortal Kombat 11. Cameos are a poorly implemented mechanic that seem to have little thought put into them with absolutely no direction. No cameo has its own archetype. It's just a constant flavor of the month cycle, rinse and repeat, and NRS just doesn't seem to be able to get a grasp on it. It's very rushed and a lot of people are unhappy with it. There's also a feeling that a lot of the characters that are cameos could have been full-fledged characters with an actual 2v2 mode or straight 1v1s. To say cameos are controversial at this point would be an understatement, I think. Hopefully we never see this mechanic come back, and given the response to it, I doubt it ever will. MK1's plot twist. Yeah, this was controversial on so many levels, and it's a decision that really set in motion a series of events that I'd like to call the MCU wannabe arc. MK11 set the seeds, but MK1 went full multiverse of madness, and it was a poorly received ending to the story by almost everyone. There's varying opinions on the MK1 story and its general direction, but almost everyone unanimously agrees that the minute Titan Shang Tsung revealed himself, everything went downhill. For a game that prides itself on its story, having no stakes in your story that revolves around life and death is a little bit weird to me. You kill one character, but it's okay because we have their variant standing right there. And sure, from a gameplay perspective, that's great because we always get access to our favorites, but if I'm to isolate the narrative from the gameplay, it's very lame. I felt nothing when Sindel died because she was killed by Sindel. It's like, okay, who cares? People were expecting a self-contained story and we didn't get that. Hopefully Chaos Reigns closes off the multiverse arc, but knowing NRS, they'll just copy whatever Marvel does, and Marvel is in full multiverse mode. Armageddon chapter in Mortal Kombat 1 story mode. Yeah, this ties into the previous post. They literally just threw their brains out the window and decided to end all timelines again in an apocalyptic scenario again. How many times? The Elseworld versions of a lot of these characters that you encounter are just lame and it seemed like such a cop-out. Worse yet, there is no clear champion of Mortal Kombat because when you fight alongside Liu Kang, you can pick whoever you want. Who actually helped Liu Kang overcome the Deadly Alliance? We have no clue and we have no idea if they're going to talk about that in the next Mortal Kombat game or in Chaos Reigns. In my opinion, a very poor decision to try and recreate a moment from the 3D era for a cheap pop, and it's very controversial to say the least. The original Armageddon made more sense considering it was just one timeline spanning 8 games of constant war and conflict between the combatants. The new one just didn't feel the same. It felt rushed and you just knew where it was gonna go. Massive L in my opinion, and obviously very controversial. Scorpion and Sub-Zero being brothers in Mortal Kombat 1. Yeah, this was extremely controversial for multiple reasons and should never have been a thing. Firstly, them being brothers means one of them has to sacrifice a part of who they were. In the original timeline, Sub-Zero was Chinese, both Bi-Han and Kuai Lang, and Scorpion was Japanese, obviously, his name is Hanzo Hasashi. So when they became brothers, the Japanese Scorpion we had grown up with ceased to exist, and not only that, but Hanzo Hasashi himself was wiped off the face of the universe. I know they reference him as a kid in the arcade endings, but he is no longer part of the main Mortal Kombat story as it stands. Kuai Lang became Scorpion and was part of the Lin Kuei. So not only did you new to the story of opposing clans from different Asian nations, you got rid of your poster child. On top of that, Kuai Lang is the most lukewarm Scorpion I have ever seen. On top of that, in Chaos Reigns, Bi-Han apparently becomes Noob Saibot again, so now we've got a lukewarm Scorpion and no Sub-Zero. This should have been a story that never changed. It was simple and it was perfect. I don't know how they're gonna fix this, but they've got a long road ahead of them. As I said, Hanzo may still be mentioned in the MK1 arcade arcade endings, but it is a far cry from what we had. Bi-Han's existence in Mortal Kombat 1. This wasn't controversial until Chaos Reigns for me. I don't think there was much controversy surrounding Bi-Han in the initial release of Mortal Kombat 1, but now I can definitely see it. Like I said before, who the hell is going to be Sub-Zero now? We could go into a different MK game in the future where Sub-Zero is actually missing from the roster. Don't worry though, you'll be paying for them via DLC, and it's not like people won't be excited and won't pay for the character. It's Sub-Zero. It's very similar to what we've seen with Heihachi Mishima. Of course people are going to be excited to see Sub-Zero come back into the story, and of course they're going to pay for them, and of course I don't want Sub-Zero to be out of the story whether he dies in it or not, but if you just analyze the business practice behind it, it is a little bit shady. That being said, I'm interested to see who becomes Sub-Zero, because we need a Sub-Zero as much as we need a Scorpion in a Mortal Kombat game. Now I left out some controversies from the list because I didn't think they were worth talking about, but the one glaring one that isn't on there is of course Combat Pack 2, which has been the point of much controversy since its announcement. The two main points being the gender bending of Cyrax and Sector and the abundance of guest characters. Gender bending characters is rarely going to sit well with people, and it's even rarer when you do it to iconic characters. Guest characters have never really been controversial, but when you're 1 year into a game and there's already 6 characters from different franchises, it's a lot, and I get it. I get why people are excited. I've just started watching The Boys. Don't flame me in the comment section, I'm always late to these things, and now I've got a lot of stuff to binge. And I can see why everybody's excited when they see characters like Homelander. I can understand the sentiment behind it, but the problem is how many guest characters they drop. It's a big point of contention, and the discourse continues to rage in the online world. But with that being said, that was some of the biggest controversies in the NRS era of MK. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. Let me know if I missed any out that were very important. And as always guys, thank you for tuning into the video. I hope you all have a good day. Take care and peace.